Hi, you guys. Welcome back to the School of Bravery. My name is Emily Ann Peterson, and today we have something really exciting. I'm so excited. Um, Over the last, so just as like a brief history of this show, I started the podcast when I was still kind of in the research phase for my book and did a bunch of interviews with people. I actually started the podcast not knowing that it was going to be a book eventually.
Ah,
Yeah. And then turned it into a book. And then after we published the book, like episodes or the interviews changed basically. It wasn't me interviewing people to find information. It was just interviewing people just to kind of get to know them some more and talk about some of the elements that are mentioned in my book. And then the School of Bravery started, which is a online community and coaching school, basically. Not a school for coaches, but a school for you to receive coaching. We talk about life, career, and creativity. And the purpose of the School of Bravery is to make your bravery feel easier. And, you know, some of the reasoning behind that is that like bravery is contagious. Bravery is needed and bravery is worth it. So if you feel like you're kind of like isolated and lonely in this feat of bravery that you're doing, it's really helpful to join with a bunch of people who are also doing brave things. It doesn't have to be the exact brave thing that you're doing, but just being surrounded by people who are also doing brave things is really makes your bravery feel easier. We also do master classes and we've had some guest faculty. So this brings us to our lovely guest today. And I got a pitch from Danielle Hope Diamond to be interviewed on the School of Bravery. First of all, she like listened to my advice, podcast pitches, because I did like a webinar or class for another online community on how to pitch yourself to podcasts. And she took my advice and then used it back on me. And I was like, all right, way to go, way to go. But in her pitch, I noticed some things that she put herself out, like she stuck her neck out and like really put herself out into the world in a way that I thought represented the way that our students really want to embody. She has a similar background to me, although very different. We'll get into that in a little bit. And as we talked further, it became really clear that she should not be just an interviewee, but she should actually be on guest faculty of the school and help me out by being co-host of the podcast. So I'm so excited to be here with you today, Danielle. So thank you for sticking with us and like being like really flexible and being willing to like take this on for this year. I think it's really fun. It's going to be a blast. So
yeah, I'm excited to have these chats.
yeah, it'll be fun. So the way that this is how we have planned it. Obviously, you guys know that the way you plan things is not always the way things pan out. But what we are hoping as of right now is that that you guys will get an episode with both of us together where we talk about the theme of the month, the bravery ingredient of every month. And then Danielle will have an episode and then I'll have an episode. So I think this will be really a really great way for you guys to get multiple perspectives and just kind of get a more in-depth connection with some of our faculty and staff. And so, Danielle, talk to me about if this were a normal like podcast interview. This is fun because this type of welcome to the co-hosting role is a new kind of episode for me to record. I don't know what I'm doing.
Improvisation.
But yeah, improvisation, exactly. What if we were interviewing you for a different episode? I would start with tell me about yourself, and also like give me your spiel. Like, what is it that you do in the world?
That I do in the world. So for what
Mm-hmm.
I do in the world, I am an actor and a screenwriter by trade. But my main focus has really been on the study of human behavior and its applications in storytelling, media, marketing, psychology. So what I do in the world now is the first thing is I am a screenwriter. I'm a playwright right now. I'm working with some awesome Broadway and Hollywood producers to write a musical, which has been one of my favorite things that I've ever done. And then when I'm not doing that, I'm taking those same storytelling methodology, that same structure, and applying it to businesses and helping brands tell their stories through something I call foundational storyline. And I do that through my own company called Epic Media, where we also do a lot of really cool video and design content, all under the umbrella of being able to tell your brand story and using storytelling as a way to connect with people.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Something that we all need to know how to do, especially if we're putting ourselves out there for visibility reasons with our career and creativity. So I mean, if you're listening to this, that's a huge reason why Danielle is a co-host and guest faculty. But another reason is that she has done a lot of the vocational changes that I know a lot of you have done or are doing now or probably will do in the future. And similar to me, she is a cellist.
Yeah.
I always get a little bit confused about like what's the tense of that word. For me at least, like was a cellist, is a cellist.
Is because I still play, but I'm not I don't play professionally anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, so was same.
So tell me a little bit, talk to me about that piece.
Yeah, so that was a big chunk of my very short life thus far has been just playing the cello and starting off having a career as a professional cellist at a very young age. I think I started as playing professionally at the age of either 11 or 12. I started doing the Juilliard pre-college program, working in those studios, doing some one-on-one work with Yo-Yo Ma and Alton, people like that. So I kind of started this career at a very young age, which was weird because it's a different experience to have as a child, to be doing conservatory programs every day after school, to constantly be practicing and that being your life instead of, going bowling or do whatever middle school kids do. I don't know. I forgot to do it. But that was kind of, I guess, my career for a while. And then I had some changes towards the end of high school with my family getting, my parents got a divorce. We had to move. And because of that, I kind of had to stop going to the programs that I was going to. I had no one to take me there anymore. I didn't have the funds to do it anymore. So because of that, it kind of took a back burner. And I think I did get a little bit burnt out too, because I think when you're that young and you're pushing and playing 2 to 8 hours a day, and you burn out. So I burnt
Totally.
out. Yeah, I burnt out. I lost a lot of things.
Burnout happens at any point of anybody's career or anybody's life. So let's dive into that a little bit, because this month's theme is, I'm sure that we'll get to know Danielle and more of her story as the year unfolds, but I really want to like focus on our vision of possibility, which is the ingredient of this month. And when you're burnt out, it can feel really hard to find that the spark of that possibility.
And to really see and remember why you're doing it. When you feel burnt out, you lose that feeling. You lose the energy. And that's something that I think about a lot, is that's kind of the difference between a professional and a hobbyist. And that's why I consider myself a hobbyist as a cellist now and not a professional anymore. Because as a professional, when you're burnt out, it doesn't matter. First thing, you have to find balance. Something that I learned the hard way starting off as a young professional is that work all the time with no breaks will get you nowhere fast. You'll see a lot of progress, but then you'll sort of hit a plateau because you'll be too tired to do anything.
Right.
So when
Right.
looking at that vision of possibility and where you want to be, it's great to work towards that goal, but remember to rest. Like, seriously.
Right. There needs to be an even ebb and flow of effort
Yeah.
and pulling back and resting. So, um, talk to me a little bit about what your opinion of the difference between professional and amateur
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
So
Because that I think that has a lot to do with your vision of possibility as
yeah.
well.
So with the professional and a hobbyist, here's kind of what I say is the difference, is that a professional is someone who wakes up in the morning, and whether or not they're inspired to do the thing that they do it anyway. A
Mm-hmm.
hobbyist is someone who does it when they feel like doing it. So I
Mm-hmm.
think a good example is being a professional author, because Emily and I have both written books.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you're writing just for fun, if you want to write because you love writing, but you don't want to be a professional writer, you can write when you feel like writing. And that's
Mm-hmm.
great. As long as you enjoy it, that's what matters. But if your goal is to be a professional at something, if you want to be a professional writer, a professional cellist, a professional anything, every single day you have to wake up and say, okay, even though I'm too tired today, even though I don't feel like doing this today, I'm going to do it anyway. It's my job.
Mm-hmm. And I would also add that, like, the professional element, for me at least, has to do with, is there value being exchanged for the thing you're offering? And it doesn't have to
Yes.
be financial value either. It can be like a trade, or it can be, like, you showing up and playing music for a friend's wedding.
Yeah.
Like, there's not really a trade, like a barter situation
Mm-hmm.
happening in that scenario, but like, you are providing a service to that person where they could be potentially paying someone else, whether you choose to receive that
That money.
payment or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
So I it's, like, when you are putting yourself, I've noticed that when with clients, that when you're putting yourself out there, especially for the first time, like, um if you are have never offered your services or your hobby skills in exchange for value for someone else, that first time can be really scary
Yeah.
and really uncomfortable. But it noticing that, I think the place where vision of possibility can help you go from hobbyist to professional, if that's something that you're going for, um, is noticing all the other people around you who charge money for that service, or who have gone from um, hobbyist to professional.
Professional.
So,
Yeah.
like, you're like allowing those other people's bravery to become contagious to you,
Yeah.
in that
And
way.
there really is a big difference in terms of the actual work that you end up doing. I have found in my career, when it comes to doing something as a hobbyist versus a professional, because as a hobbyist, a lot of it is about your personal enjoyment. It's all about, here's what I personally want to do. I'm going to make my project, especially in the film industry. I see so many young writers and filmmakers going, this is the script I want to make. This is the movie I want to make. Great. You make the movie, but no one watches it and no one buys it. But kind of
Mm-hmm.
how it really works in the industry, especially in a lot of creative industries, and I'm sure this probably goes for different sections of music and writing as well,
Mm-hmm.
is that someone says, this is what I need. You get commissioned to do things. You don't get to always make the thing that makes you the happiest. The thing that has to make you the happiest is just doing the thing itself.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
would say, the nuance of how that applies to music industry is that an artist, um, like a songwriter or a pop artist or somebody can't expect that if they just do anything, that that won't have consequences on their career. So for instance, like if, I don't know, if Joni Mitchell for some reason comes up with like the weirdest EDM album ever, you know, or just suddenly she's into heavy metal, um, she can't expect to release a heavy metal album and not like either lose audience, or I should say lose long time past audience, or lose lukewarm people who are just meh, she's okay, you know.
Yeah.
There's consequences for
Mhm.
how you put what you put out in the world, and what you put out
Yeah,
into the
because
world.
it affects your brand is ultimately what it is that as a creator, whether you're an individual creator or working for a company as a creator, everything you put out reflects your brand and who you are and what
Mm-hmm,
you do
mm-hmm,
and what you believe in, which is the most important part. And that's a big
and
part of it.
And I would say that even if you do, like if you are in a situation where you have an audience and you want to pivot things or change things,
Yeah.
it's very, like, we're talking about vision of possibility. It is so possible for Joni Mitchell to
Yeah.
release a heavy metal album, but the nuance of how she goes about doing it is really important, because you get to pull your audience along that journey with you,
Yeah.
which I think is why your your role as a brand advisor and strategist and communicator is really important,
Yeah.
because you have these companies or people who are like, I want to do a thing, and you're like, great,
Mm-hmm.
it's important that you do that thing so
Yeah.
that you capture the attention of the right people.
Yeah, and take them along with you and make sure that they understand what's going on in your head and your story, because you
Mm-hmm.
can have your vision of possibility and your idea of where you want to go next and the idea of the thing that you want to do. The friction there is I always find the biggest friction is getting people to also get on board with that because of the lack of understanding. And so if
Yeah.
you're able to tell the right story, if you're able to if you give them permission to get into your head and to understand where you're coming from and really be genuine about what you care about and your values, then you give them something to connect on.
Right. 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 So, okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and go to, you know, I'm curious to hear from you, because you've been like in our community for our like online Facebook
Yeah.
community of students for a couple weeks now. What have you noticed about the vision of possibility of the students that we've got enrolled at the moment?
So,
I just
yeah,
sprung that question on
yeah.
you, so.
Um, Something that I've noticed that, well, I get, here's what I'll say. Something that I've noticed is that they're really active about sharing their vision of possibility.
Uh-huh.
And I think that is really important to making a reality, because when you're working with a group of people, when you put it out there, you have accountability. And that's one of the
Mm-hmm.
great things about the community is that
Mm-hmm.
accountability is being able to post in the group and say, um, here is my vision of possibility for the month. Here's what I'm focusing on, or here's where I want to be. Here's what I currently have. Like, here's my website. Here's my messaging. Help me fix this, or help me get it to where it needs to be. Or even
Mm-hmm.
things like bravery brags, like
Mm-hmm.
being able to share those big things that you do that are scary, and
Mm-hmm.
having that support and knowing that you're
Mm-hmm.
not the only one doing that. So I think accountability is a big part of vision and possibility and actually turning it into a reality.
Yeah, there's something really really powerful about utilizing accountability and utilizing the community around you, because it um, it implies that your vision of possibility also has, this is a different ingredient that we'll talk about in a future month, but that your vision of possibility also comes with defiant expectation, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, there's a difference between sitting in your room all by yourself and writing down your goals for the year and defiantly expecting that those goals can actually happen. And by expecting it, you ask for help because you know you need help in order to make A to B happen, you know.
Yeah. And I think we all need help along the way.
Oh yeah.
I
I mean,
don't think
what
I
are
don't think
you?
anyone can achieve anything by themselves.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Well, I was
Yeah.
just in at a huge international folk alliance conference this past weekend, and I was on a panel for, what was the name of the panel? The panel was named like building a sustainable self-managed artist career. And I came out of the panel, you know, like gave advice, got on my soapbox about automating your life because that's so important. But I learned from just sitting in the panel and being amongst my colleagues who were on this panel, who were fantastic. Cara Dillon, Jamie Stone, and Issa Burke. All three of them are like beautiful artists and also have like really spot on careers. They're in a spot in their career where they know what they're doing and they know what they want. And it was clear amongst all of us that we all ask for help in a different way and we all seek out that support in a different way. And, you know, one of the artists is in a spot right now where they're on a panel for self-managed careers and they're actually looking for a manager.
Yeah.
There's another artist who is, you know, like makes an effort to just ask for help for fans or from fans or from like colleagues, which that asking is really powerful too. So let me ask you this. What are you envisioning for your year? What are you focused on for your
Yeah.
career?
So for right now for my year, my big thing is getting this musical done by the end of the year is kind of the goal that we have, which we're super excited about. Fortunately, we have producers giving us deadlines, so that one is that one will happen. And I also have a wonderful, wonderful co-writer that we write everything together. Again, with having help, it makes all the difference. So that's a big thing in my career this year. And then another big thing is really
And
doubling.
you're doing scripts for that, like written script, or are you doing composition for that as well? Or
So the process for writing musicals is very weird. So first, what they have you do is you write the book for the script. So you write the musical as if it were a play. And then once they have that and the story is really solidified, and we work with someone called a dramaturg who helps shape the story, and we work together and we create the script, we write it out as a play, and then once we have the play version, then we get our composer and our lyricist, and we work with the composer and the lyricist to fit the songs into the story, which is going to be very interesting for the project that we're working on, because we really want to make it more operetta style, which means that there's going to be a lot of music.
Nice.
But yeah, so that's how the process works. It's very interesting.
Yeah, the folk music community is so proud of Anais Mitchell. She is a singer-songwriter from Vermont, and she did a folk opera back in 2007 or 8 or something. And when she released the first album, it was just a album of like a normal album. She went on tour, and in her Seattle show, I was able to play cello with her on that tour. And so I've kept tabs on her, and she last night won a Grammy. And then like she also won, or that play, the Hadestown.
Is that hers?
Yep. She wrote
the same
Hadestown.
Producer that I'm writing with.
That's amazing.
Small World.
That's so fun. That's
she wrote Hadestown. Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, so Hadestown got a Grammy last night.
It did.
In the Grammys. And then also, I forget the awards show for musicals.
Tonys, yeah. It won the Tony for Best Musical. Mhm.
Oh my gosh. I was so proud of her. I was watching that and thinking like, wow, I you just don't know what somebody was thinking when they were creating something, if
Yeah.
they envisioned something as huge as like going all the way with a teeny tiny folk opera, you know?
Yeah, no, that's been a
Um,
huge success.
It's been really cool to watch that happen. Um, and this month, as we've been like talking about vision of possibility, that's it's like, what are you doing now that could have like epic results in
Later.
the future?
Hmm.
And maybe it's not a Tony, maybe it's not winning a Grammy, or maybe it's not even like any sort of commercial success, but like it being able to envision something a lot bigger can help
Yeah.
can
I
help
think
you.
part of that too is to keep that vision in the back of your head and just continue to do the work and have patience. Because really it takes a lot of patience. Because
Mm-hmm,
you're not
mm-hmm.
gonna wake up one day and then all of a sudden your your album is a successful musical and all of a sudden all your dreams come true. It takes a lot of tenacity and a lot of
Yeah.
continuous hard work. So just I think doing the work now to to eventually hopefully get to that vision that you have for yourself is a big important part of vision of possibility and what it means and how to actually
Mm-hmm.
actively use it in your daily life.
Yeah, and it helps to also have like the flexibility to um adjust your trajectory for
Oh
what you're
yeah.
working on, because I imagine this just would be me if I were to sit down and write a folk opera today. I would probably release it thinking, great, it's going to be my next album, and then I'll do a different album, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you start to feel like, oh, this is successful, I need to put these other visions for myself on hold so that I can continue moving this one a lot further.
Yeah.
That can be part of this vision of possibility, like being willing to um, even like kill the darlings,
Oh
in effort
yeah.
of like seeing the vision of possibility come to
Yeah.
fruition. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah. Does well, I've been asking you a lot of questions. Ask me some questions. Um, what do you not know about me that you want to know? We'll ask
Oh,
that.
ooh, what do I not? Where do you see your year going, and what are like the big things for you in the next year that you're really focusing on and doubling down on, and the things that are important to Emily
Yeah.
Ann?
Um, okay. So I'm kind of in a weird in between place right now. I have the School of Bravery, which I love, and I really have been enjoying teaching the classes that, we teach. Um, every month there's 2 master classes that I prepare for. And then we have like regular sessions with, one-on-one sessions with students, and I enjoy that work a lot. So I want to grow that. I also know that I know that I have a limited capacity,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the way that my vision of possibility is playing out, at least this quarter, this season, is acting on the fact that I have a limited capacity, right? And part of that's asking for help. Part of that's sharing wealth and sharing um, spotlight and sharing the pieces of pie,
Yeah,
basically.
giving away your
Like,
Legos.
yeah, but it's also like it comes from a place of I have a vision of possibility that the pie gets bigger. You don't just get a smaller piece when you ask for help or when you share pieces of pie with people, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
it comes from like an abundant place that like I know that when I can ask for help in the right way, the pie gets bigger, and that helps everyone out in a lot greater way. Because I've just noticed in this last year, like the absolute limit of my capacity has been reached, and that's made my own projects suffer and other things in my life suffer. And I'm like, I have the defiant expectation that doesn't have to happen. So asking for help in lots of different ways. I also just finished recording my next album. So that was really fun. And that album is a collection of politically, not charged, but songs that have ties to political issues.
Yeah.
And I'm still, you can hear, I'm still in like the process of like formulating how the album works and comes together. But sonically, I'm very excited about the album. And the reason why I picked that collection is because November is coming. Very similar to winter is coming. If you're a fan of Game of Thrones, November is coming, and everyone needs to register to vote and volunteer for the elections that matter to them and speak up about the issues that matter to them. And I don't really care what your opinions are about the issues. I just want everyone to be vocal and speak up and show up for the election.
It counts. Even if you don't think it counts, it counts.
It counts.
Because if too many people don't think it doesn't count, then it starts to count.
Then it starts to count in a bad way. Yeah, exactly. So, and I think a lot of that has to do with, November matters not just for presidential reasons, but it matters for there's a lot of issues that are being voted on a state level that affect you more than the president.
Who the president is. Yeah.
The president is.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people forget that by not showing up to vote for and speak up in your local community,
and part of that is it's so important to look up, go online, find out what those issues are in your community so you can have an opinion and so you know where you stand and what will benefit your community the best.
Yeah. So my vision of possibility for this upcoming album is that I would really love to partner with organizations that can be represented by one or more of the songs on the album. So whenever I do a tour or a performance in a different city, I would love to have that show have some sort of partnership with a local nonprofit or another political campaign even, so I have my irons in several different possible fires, basically. And if you're listening and you are affiliated with an organization that might want to partner with me, hey, contact me. I'd love to talk about that. So that's a lot to do in November, before November. But I think, it's an idea that I would like to redo over and over again, because it's not November is not the only time we're going to be voting. But I see possibility in the model of, I have an album, you have an issue, or you have a nonprofit. Let's work together, because one of my skills as an artist is evoking emotion, and as yours is too, your job that
is my job.
Your job is to evoke not just any emotion,
a specific,
exactly a specific emotion. And so if I am totally behind an organization and everything that they're doing, then I would be glad, more than happy to help them evoke a specific emotion from volunteers or future volunteers or future fundraisers or those kinds of things.
That's so important too, because a lot of organizations, a lot of companies, organizations, nonprofits, they're great at the thing that they do. Especially in politics, they're great at policy. The good organizations, anyway.
As they should be, right?
As they should. Oh, yes. As they should be. Like your expertise should be the thing that you do. And then that's where I think artists and storytellers can really come in and bring value, is saying, okay, you're great at what you do. We're going to help you get people to understand it, whether it's through music or through a video or through a movie or through a play or something like that, using that to kind of bridge the gap between here's what we do and here's our experts and our jargon and here's why what we're doing is working, and here are the people of the United States of America and the world, and here's how you get them to understand you and connect with it.
Right. And I think, if you are in a place in your creative career where you feel like your creativity doesn't have value to the rest of society, I would encourage you to stretch yourself by asking yourself what group of people, and it doesn't have to be a nonprofit, it doesn't have to be even a formal organization or corporation or anything, but what group of people need you to translate something. Because more often than not, I have seen that creatives are like professional translators.
Yeah, 100%. And everyone needs their message communicated. Mm-hmm. And if you can do that effectively, that's what creatives do. And being able to take that skill and find people who need it. There's a lot of opportunities out there. If you're willing to expand your vision of possibility and willing to take your vision of possibility and be improvisational with it, which is another ingredient. It's my favorite ingredient, I think, is improvisation. But if you can take that vision of possibility and really be open to the improvisation, then all of these doors are just going to start to open for you, I think.
Yeah.
In my experience.
And I have seen that when it comes to using those 12 ingredients of bravery in my book, Bare Naked Bravery, and they're the same 12 that we go over. We could take one every month and dive into it every month with the School of Bravery. By having your vision of possibility and being willing to use improvisation, that implies the willingness to remove labels from yourself.
Yes.
Because I'll say this in a different way. If you are tied to labels and boxes and files and folders and judgments and prejudices by other people, then your vision of possibility will be boxed in. Mm-hmm. Like every label, every prejudice, it will just make your possibility that much more small.
And that's actually funny you mentioned that, because there's something in my book about that, a little chapter on I call it assessing and resetting your career GPS. A lot of us, we have these ideas of what we want to be. Like for me, it was always I was going to be an actress. When the cello thing was over, my main focus was vocal performance, musical theater. I wasn't going to write the musicals, I was going to be in them. And so I kept doing that and doing that and doing that. But I was terrified of auditions. I hated auditions. Honestly, I'm not a good auditioner. I'm much better in the rehearsal room than showing up blindly to an audition. I hated it. I would get such crippling anxiety. And I realized that I think I liked the idea of doing it more than the actual reality of what it was to be a professional actress in the real working world. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of put that aside and went back to the drawing board and said, okay, what is it that I love about acting? What are like the core elements there? And how can I apply it elsewhere? So I took that and realized the things that I valued, which were family and creativity and collaboration and wisdom, but also the main thing that I loved was human behavior. Mm-hmm. And when you look at human behavior, there are so many things that you can do with human behavior. It doesn't have to be acting. And that's when I got into marketing. I started really leveraging acting as a director, which is, I do a lot of directing now, a lot of writing. The best writers write for actors and like write for how an actor's brain thinks. And so because of that, I've found my niche in all these other things because of my background in acting, but I'm not acting anymore. I don't really act anymore.
Yeah.
But being able to take what you think you want to be, getting a grasp of the reality of it, and then letting your vision of possibility really expand and say, and not boxing yourself in and saying, okay, this is the dream I had when I was 7. Okay, but we grow since we're 7. We gain new skills. We learn things. And it's okay to let those things in and to take them as they come and to change your vision of possibility and really to expand it.
Yeah. There's a couple things. One, I love that you have essentially outsourced your resentment of your career, right?
Yeah.
You've outsourced that to the other actors. You've said, like, I believe that I can enjoy acting so much that I don't ever have to audition again.
Yes.
Which is a pretty audacious thing to like, right?
Yes.
To say I'm an actor, but I never audition.
No.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But I love that. Like, don't think that I'm calling you like, like,
no, it's
I think
true.
that's
I got
fantastic.
Rid of what I hated. And you know, there's tons of actors out there who are made for the audition process.
Yes.
And are made to do the grind, and that's what they want to do, and they wake up and they do it, but that wasn't for me. It wasn't, I hated it and it wasn't for me.
I can totally envision someone really loving the process of like, did I get it? Did I not get it?
Like, getting all dressed up for auditions. I hate that. I barely own makeup. Like, I don't know how to dress myself. Like, not my thing. And so like that whole element of it, when you look at the reality of what it actually was, it wasn't for me. And so I took that and figured out what elements of it were for me. And also what I love about it now is that the great thing about it is if you can be successful in something that allows you to keep growing those skills and allows you to keep using that part of your brain, then you can say, so when I'm not making commercials for companies and when I'm not writing musicals, I can make my own short films and act in them, which I do. And I can do the acting thing that I enjoy solely because I enjoy it. It's not my livelihood. It's not meant to be my career. It's for me. And and if you can have that goes back to the starving artist mindset too, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're a starving artist, if you can't pay your rent, if you can't afford food, then you're not going to have the resources to be able to take the time to do those things that are just for you. So if you want to have permission to create for yourself, you need to give yourself the tools to do so.
It's been fascinating to me to see, at least this month, amongst a lot of our students, how many of them are in the process of making space. Because I think that's part of giving yourself or expanding your vision is, well, where do I not have space that I need to have space? I know for at this panel that happened this past weekend, there was an artist that was asking about, how do I not resent my husband? They're in a duo. How do I not resent my husband who is not doing the share of the management, administrative, like booking kind of side of things? And that was my reaction. That was my response, was like, how can you outsource your resentment?
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Like, how can you outsource your resentment? Because if the resentment is if you don't mind doing the tasks and he doesn't mind not doing the tasks, but yet you are resenting him, like, if that's the only piece of friction that's happening, like for you, it was, I just hate auditions. I don't like it. I just don't like it. Well, how can you just cut it out? Stop it, you know?
Or alternatively, if you are someone who, say you want to be a musician and you want to kind of be your own manager and market yourself, You have to learn, if that's really your dream and that's the thing you want more than anything else, you can either pivot and do something else and get rid of the things you resent, like we did, or you can say, no, I want this so badly, I'm going to learn to love this. And you're going to find the things in there that do align with your values, if it aligns with your values. And that's just something that's a choice you need to make. And that's where really knowing yourself.
Well, I think if you do decide to pursue something like that, like the School of Bravery, or like seeking to make the thing easier with a real specific intention, is important. Because if you know, I have this goal and it requires that I do these 3 things, one of which I absolutely hate doing, digging deeper into that one thing can maybe help you discover, like, oh, it's because I actually just don't know how to do that one thing.
That's always a big part of it, is just not knowing. And it takes so much, it's hard to, you have to just learn. And if you learn it and then hate it, that's a different thing. But if you don't take the time to learn it and give yourself the space and the patience to give it a try, and if you're not open to it, then it's just going to be resentment, because there's a good chance that you'll actually start to enjoy it.
Right. Or you'll learn a way that could make it easier.
Yes.
You know, like you'll learn, it's not just about just forcing yourself to do it. It's also about like force yourself to do it but do that in a way that makes it easier for every other time afterwards. So,
and also I just think the more you practice things and the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
Totally. This is so much fun.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to do this more often with you.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. So again, the way that we will be going forward with this is Danielle and I will release an episode where the 2 of us kind of do something like this. We'll like just jam on the ingredient of the month, and then individually we'll each have a little micro episode that we'll release later in the month as well. So things are going to get cranking, and I'm really excited about this. And if you know somebody who could use a little boost of bravery, then we would really encourage you to share this podcast with them. If you would like to take a class with Danielle, you can do so if you go to schoolofbravery.com/Danielle. And you can learn more about what Danielle is doing, both on her own, but also for the School of Bravery, because she's also got some really great, she has a webinar that she's offering to everyone for free, and then also is doing one-on-one sessions for 3 specific opportunities. So let me pull that up here while can you talk a little bit about like what the webinar is about?
I'm still working
for us. Yeah. So Danielle wrote this book called Get Your Shit Together.
Figure your shit out.
Figure your shit out. Which is, and then the webinar is Get
Your Shit Together.
So she's going to walk a little bit through her book, and then help you guys learn how to harness your creative chaos. So if you're feeling a little bit scatterbrained and overwhelmed, that webinar with Danielle is going to be really good for you. And then additionally, she also has 3 sessions that you can book her for. So if you are kind of in the starving artist mindset and you haven't yet monetized your hobby and you'd like to start doing that, she is a great person to talk to about that career GPS that she mentioned. What's the second one here?
Second one, so there's 3. The first one is if you're not making any money yet, you really want to start making money, we're going to help you with that. The second one is turning your part-time passion into a full-time career. So maybe you've started something, but it's not a sustainable full-time yet. You're still trying to figure out how to grow it, how to market it, how to kind of figure out what your value proposition is. that session is going to be for you. And then this is the third session. This is for the person who's already established themselves. You have your business, you have your career going, but you really want your story to stand out better. You want to connect with people better. You want to be able to use those emotional tools to get more clients, to inspire your employees to really grow your business. That's what we're going to talk about in that session. So if either of those three sounds like you, head over to schoolofbravery.com/Danielle, and I would love to chat with you and help you live life a little bit more bravely.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I mean, this is one of the changes or like adjustments that I am making with our guest faculty members is like letting them just give their bravery and share their bravery with our students and with our listeners. So I'm so excited to do this and make it happen. So keep your ears peeled. I don't, it's a funny phrase. Keep your eyes peeled and then your ears to the ground, ears open. Because I think that this vision of possibility that we have for the School of Bravery is a definite thing. And I'm very excited to watch it unfold and to have Danielle with us too. So if you have any questions, you can find Danielle and I on Instagram, and you can DM either of us. But otherwise, go to schoolofbravery.com/Danielle, and you can learn all about it. And with that, I will leave you just to know that your bravery is worth it, and it's needed, and it's contagious, and we want to see more of it. So we'll see you next time.
Yeah, see you next time.